Welcome, everybody, for tonight's episode. I got the message together earlier. I was planning to do this the other night, so most of it was together. Just had to tidy up some things. So we're going to continue where we left off on part 3, and we're going to go back to instead of chapter 10, we're going back to chapter 9. And so I just wanted to, because chapter 9 is interesting. It gives you a timeline of history according to the alien perspective that matches occult theosophy, Kabbalah ideas, New Age ideas, the 7 root race age ideas are in it. All kinds of things are in this. And I find it ironic this so-called alien is spouting all this mystical stuff and altering history just like a good Marxist will do to get you to erase your own history and heritage, and saying that history is an illusion. We have been taught wrong. We're living in a world of illusion. We are subject to brainwashing machines. So we'll forget who we are. So if we could just all become pure spirit beings, we can be liberated and overthrow the last vestiges of the old empire's prison system they have. And Ariel, the alien that Matilda MacElroy was talking to, or she was being through telepathy, channeling. She was channeling it, actually. If this is all true, it should say that we are living on a prison planet, and the old empire has been destroyed, but the last vestiges of it need to be broken so that all the Isbis trapped in this area can escape and become free, become gods, as God designed, which goes back to Gnosticism and Kabbalah and stuff. So with the ancient aliens and people, as well as other people, they all believe that we are all aliens, and a lot of them teach that we are on a prison planet. I don't know if you heard that. But what happens if the recent alien disclosure leads to an alien or some type of being or some type of image saying that we all got it wrong? Our history is wrong. We are all space brothers. We were trapped inside this mortal frame somehow through the old empire and are not allowed to escape and become gods. So you have to go through religious practices and rituals that match paganism in order to achieve. You have to do sex right magic. You have to do all this weird stuff to achieve your ecstatic union with the divine through certain types of Gnosticism, ritual sex of the Kabbalah, which in the Qbala and the other Kabbalahs, one Kabbalah is more spiritual, the Q and the C Kabbalah, and the other one is more sex right magic. After you get past the da'at stage of super secret knowledge, go past the throat sharka from the death and experience new life through sexual union, bringing male and female back together. But I won't get there. I'm not talking about that. Maybe I'll have to finish up the Kabbalah stuff later. They don't tell you that part. It's the really dark stuff. And so but anyway, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right into it. If you're joining in, well, you're going to have to start the video all over again and get into it. So anyway, welcome to my green screen world. It's amazing you can do with the basement. It is, let's see, 9 o'clock here, a little after 9 o'clock, and it's dark as all get out outside. So that is a green screen, and this is not my house. People go, where do you live? You live in so many different places. No, it's all it's XSplit camera, and this is how it works. It works pretty daggone well. So let me check my audio. Yep, everything looks like it's set up right. I want to make sure before I start. So we're going to get into this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read chapter 9. I can't read the whole thing. It's too long. And again, I had to go in through the PDF magic, through their stuff. You pay a little extra, but you can go in, and I had to reformat this document that I got off, and I forgot to put the link in the description to the document, but you can look it up. The Matilda MacElroy interview with an alien, and you can find it online pretty easy. You can read it yourself. So I reformatted it. So I can't quote it all. It's just too much. So we're going to go right to it right now. We're going to go up to it. I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to bring this up on this side so you can see it a little better. And it's going to leave it there. And I'm going to read it, and we're going to talk about it. So Matilda is interviewing this alien, and this alien, named Ariel, is given. I tried to express it when I was talking to Jason, as well as every time I'm getting here. If there are such aliens that are going to be disclosed, they come out, they are liars. They are groomers. They are grooming people for this thing. Or it could be a Project Blue Book type of thing, getting ready to shenanigans being pulled to groom you to give up certain inalienable rights given by God by telling you there is no such thing as a monotheistic God or any gods. We're all aliens. We are therefore trapped isbies, that's what she called them, spiritual beings in an earth suit, and we need to be liberated so we can ascend to the farthest sides of the north and join them in their quest of liberation. And so when you combine the occult knowledge with this, as well as what the people said in the interview, the pastors like Alan DiDio, that's how he says now. I watched Josh Peck; he did an excellent interview with him. DiDio, and you realize that the main concern of the people putting this on was that the government would use this to destroy Christianity and create confusion in faith, and that could be all that it is, and shift you into a new world of empire of some type, order of some type. And could that possibly be? Well, we're seeing the forerunners of it, and people are rebelling against it here in the United States. They're rebelling against it in England right now, which is good. That's what it needs to do. But remember, they play both sides. And you got to be very smart, very careful, and get in the Bible, stay with the Bible, believe what the Bible says, and wake people up to this. Point them to these videos on this MacElroy video to educate them and let them catch up where I'm at. So I'm making it very, very simple as I go through this. So let's go ahead and begin reading. So Matilda O'Donnell MacElroy, personal note before the interview, says, for this interview, I took notes because Errol gave me a lot of dates and names that I couldn't possibly remember without writing them down. I didn't usually take notes, but during this lesson, I thought it was important to get the information exactly as she gave it to me. However, I discovered my note taking made it much more difficult for me to focus on receiving the communication from Errol. I was sometimes so distracted by my own writing, I lost the train of her thought, so I had to ask her to repeat several times. Ariel continued to stay in communication with the communications officer on an asteroid belt space station, from which she received much of this information. Since Errol was an officer, pilot, engineer of the domain, and not a historian, she had to get this information from the records of the reconnaissance missions conducted by officers of the domain expeditionary force. What is all that about? Sounds like Star Trek, but probably or Star Wars. The domain is so-called the good guys, and they overthrow the old empire, and now they're trying to free the Isbies on Earth to ascend with them to higher levels of consciousness. They become little gods. And that's the whole point of this thing. It should exactly what humanity was thrown out of the Garden of Eden for. And this begins to attack the history of the world, because this entity is going to go into a history of the world and how it was made through the eyes of their alien stuff. This could be all a bunch of Babylonian stuff. It can be it may not even be true. I don't think it is. I think it's a pack of lies and grooming. And I'm thinking, how many people who don't know what's going on, if this stuff gets out, they will have nothing to combat this ideology, and nothing at all. What are they going to do? They'll probably fall for it. Okay, that's what I'm saying. How so? Well, life's complicated, right? So, subject, Alien Interview, the 27th of July, 1947, first sessions. The actual history of the Earth is very bizarre. This is Ariel communicating to her. And as MacElroy goes on and tells you, there was a stenographer there who was taking, that's how she got this down, actually. The actual history of the Earth is very bizarre, and it's also nonsensical that is incredible to anyone on Earth who attempts to investigate it. A myriad of vital information is missing from it. A huge conglomeration of non-sequitur relics and mythology has been arbitrarily introduced into it, aka Christianity, Judaism, and volatile nature of Earth itself cynically covers, drowns, and mixes shreds of the physical evidence. These factors combined with amnesia and post-traumatic suggestions, false facades, and covert manipulation make reconstruction of the factual origins and history of the Earth's civilizations virtually indecipherable. Any investigator, no matter how brilliant, is doomed to wallow in the quagmire of inconclusive assumptions, workable hypotheses, and perpetual mystery. So, if you know anything about gaslighting, and you want to project that everything that you have learned is an illusion and a lie, and you got to make it so convincing that the people will believe it. In the totalitarian state system, like Karl Marx and Engels and the ones before him who are utilitarians and collectivists and stuff, they knew they would have to housebreak humanity. You tell a lie long enough and they will believe it. For example, in communism, the party is never wrong. Even if the results result in famine, mass death, the party is never wrong. They just didn't do it right. So you keep repeating it and more people die. The party is never wrong. So they, like in Mao's China, for example, in the Cultural Revolution and the Cultural Revolution and other things, they wanted to erase the national heritage of the Chinese and make them communists. The whole idea is that you have to unite to become communists, a collective. You are a collective. And this is the same idea here. You want to tear down and destroy the national heritage and who you are as a people, and what you believe in must be destroyed and instilled with new ideas. Why is that? I don't have the documents in front of me. I didn't put them on the screen. But if you go back and look at when I talked about the root races of H.P. Blavatsky, which we will get into shortly here, the idea of the root race is that we are in the fifth root race, according to Edgar Casey, would begin disappearing between 1998 and 2014-15-ish. And at that time is a great transitory period where certain type of ideology we're going to usher into the sixth root race stage of evolutionary development of humanity. That means 6 root race stages of evolutionary development into godhood. Think of it like that. Think of the ascending sharkas from the material world of the Kabbalah on up to the crown and the 2 above the crown they don't tell you about. Or the Gnostic tree or the Hindu sharkas, whatever. And so you think of that. And so the 6th root race is ideology. It revolves mainly about a new frame of thinking for the world, erasing all cultural heritage and stuff. I'll get into this a little bit later. And the way they do it is through androgyny and pushing androgyny. So if you look back in history, in recent history, if you haven't forgotten already, and how androgyny came to the scene and began, not that long ago. Then I guess a little bit before Obama, and then filtered through on up through to Biden and Kamala Harris, and a travesty we went through, and what they are doing. It's done for a reason. It's a psyops. It's a decoration in your face. We're going into the 6th root race stage. You need to have the history, how you think, what you think about the world, utterly erased. And so the aliens have a nice template in order to present that. So be aware if this happens, that this is what you will be witnessing. So I go on. Since the domain does not suffer these afflictions, having the advantage of memory, longevity, and exterior point of view, I'll add some clarification to your fragmentary knowledge of the history of the earth. Remember, MacElroy forgot that didn't know she was being groomed, and she forgot very in the beginning how this alien was very arrogant and condescending, okay? She didn't catch it. She lost it. She befriended this alien. These are some of the dates and events that are not mentioned in Earth history textbooks. These dates are significant because they provide some information concerning the influence of the old empire and of the dominion on Earth. Although I've attended several briefings by our mission control personnel on the general background of Earth within the past few hundred years, I will rely principally on the data gathered from the records captured after my invasion of the old empire planetary headquarters. Since that time, the Dominion Expeditionary Forces has tracked the general progress events on Earth. You got to understand this statement. She goes, the data, I will rely principally on the data gathered from the records captured after our invasion of the old Empire planetary headquarters. So this entity's supposed to be peaceful, science officer, and so she just give a classic Freudian slip or whatever, a lie. Yeah, you're in a combat mission and you're trying to destroy the old planetary headquarters to find out where these brainwash machines are. Okay, I'll talk more about that later. If you need to catch up, you got three other versions to catch up to the fourth part here. Since that time, the Domain Expeditionary Force has tracked the general progress of events on Earth. As I mentioned, in some cases, the Domain has chosen to intervene in certain affairs on Earth in order to ensure that success of our long-term expansion plans. Our long-term expansion plans. And that's very interesting when I find out as you read this document and go on further as we read, the Domain doesn't have any expansion plans. They're the good guys. But the Earth is pretty insignificant. They really don't want it, but they really do. It belongs to them because it's their property. They want it back. The humans are just in the way. Okay, but they're a tool to somehow break this barrier that the ISBs can't escape from, and they have to get rid of these machines. So they want to traverse, and this will sound weird. They want people to go to certain planets and motivate them to go to certain planets to look for different objects. Now, there's more data coming out from the so-called dark side of the moon pictures by 3i, but the Atlas rocket ship took. And I don't know if any of this is true, but they're claiming that they can see towers on there. You can see things that look like towers. These could be, we have hoodoos and stuff like that. Rock formations down in the southwest, seen from the sky, could be, they're perfectly symmetrical tower. It may be just a rock formation. We don't know. They're going on assumption. They may know something I don't. And I don't know what I'm seeing. It looks like it could be one of the rock formation to me. It could be a tower. But if a tower, why the concern? That would be an area left over by the old empire that needs to go. Or it could be a base where these things hang out at. I don't know, but who knows? I used to watch the show UFO. I start watching it again, and it's the old series. You can find it on YouTube, and you get the full copyright version of it. And it's interesting how they portray it. And they have a moon base and all that on there to protect the Earth from aliens. But back in the day, it was cutting edge technology, but it's all done by puppets and stuff. But that's so what it is. What it is. It's dated. It's silly, and it's well done. But anyway, I digress. You continue reading. Although the Domain has no interest in Earth per se or in the population of ISBs on this planet, it does serve our interest to ensure that the resources are not destroyed or spoiled. To that end, certain officers of the Domain have been sent to Earth on reconnaissance missions from time to time to gather information. Basically, they don't want the Earth destroyed, and so they call everybody on the planet here, you and me, as ISBs. An ISB is a spiritual being, sort of like Errol, who is trapped in a doll body. We are in an earth suit, just sort of like the Gnostics thinks. We have a spirit and soul trapped inside of a physical, mortal body, and we need to be liberated, become pure spirit beings again. This is the ideology this thing is teaching and sharing. How many people will believe this trash if they don't know it? So I'm just saying, a lot of pastors don't. Whoops, my shirt's all crooked. A lot of pastors don't know this stuff. They don't know how to teach it, and they need to brush up on it, because if this is going to happen, they need to know where they don't know how to put it together. People like myself have been doing this quite some time, and it's a slow process. The Lord directs your steps, and you just and all of a sudden I stand here in front of you on this. At first, I just thought this whole thing was just a bunch of junk. Then UFO Disclosure comes out, and what if this is the template? This will be sold to a people to buy. The Marxists already do it. They want to destroy your natural heritage, who you are as a people, by critique, looking at your past, pointing out all past faults, just like the name Earl means, pointing out past faults and stuff. That's one of the meanings of the definition of Earl from the ancient land of India. Okay, it's a thorn thicket. Throw something in the path to obscure, obfuscate, disinformation, all kinds of things that this thing definitely is doing. The whole idea is to free us. So they can say, we're not interested on the people of the planet. They're not interested in the mortal people. They want us to become spiritual beings so we can escape, if you want to know the truth, into the lake of fire with them. You're going to stick with I'm going to stick with the Bible. They want you in the lake of fire with them. Well, I can say that boldly and unequivocally with complete confidence because of my experience that I wrote about in my book, A Land Unknown, Hell's Dominion. You don't have to believe my testimony, but I did die. I did see this pit, and I'm amazed after all these years, just what I learned and seen down there. It's like, oh my gosh. I never knew it would be addressing this subject, but it seems like it's headed that way. The planet belongs to these things, and they just want you to be pure spirit being. They want to drag you into the current pit of hell, and as you saw in chapter 10 that I read a couple of days ago, was it Saturday night? Yeah. They like to inflict pain. They're drawn into pain and suffering. So they're in hell and there's pain and suffering there, and they like to inflict it. It's like an aphrodisiac, as Jason Mathis brought out in his interview with Chris, who reported on the going on in the island in the Alaskan island chain, and Shamaya or something like that, air base back in the day, and so. When you look at the evidence and you look at other people, L.A. Marzulli and others who investigate this stuff, talk about the affliction of pain and how these things are drawn to it, you begin to get a picture here. And this is how in political ideologies, how in fascism and especially Marxism, they don't have a problem bumping off millions of people, because they know that you would reincarnate back in, and then have to become a purified Isbe later on. You're just a spiritual being. They're here to make the world right, a new way of thinking, the 6th root race stage, to jump into the 7th root race stage, where all the mortal existence is destroyed and comes back into a new form of existence, which I'll talk about in just a minute. Goes back to the ancient pagan religions, especially Theosophy, which is the brain trust of occult knowledge and stuff, as well as all forms of Satanism, all different Kabbalahs, New Age movement, all that stuff, Hinduism, Shinto, all the others. If you're believers of those, I'm not trying to criticize you, just saying, come to Christ. You don't have to work so hard and meditate and go, the circle of life will be upon you, zap, be blessed. You don't have to do the strange stuff like, do the Three Stooges head tap or something, and you do that 30 times and then put tin foil on your head and stand one arm up and another arm folded in this yoga position. You'll get secret knowledge and ascend to higher levels. It's all workspace. Jesus just offers salvation because of what he's did and done and accomplished. Nothing and nothing else. Okay? We're persecuted because we offer a choice when you don't have any yet. Before, you're led to do constant works and self-effort and self-improvement that you might improve a little, but in the end, it all falls apart, right? As they say, I heard this person say today, well, life's complicated. So I kind of picked up that jargon for some reason. Anyway, let me get back to the video, and not the video, but the thing. However, the following dates and events have been extrapolated from the accumulated information in the data files of the domain, at least those that are accessible to me through the Space Station Communication Center. Well, you got to remember, Earl says that they are instant communication with each other constantly, and they through telepathy. This brings up a point. Can these things read your mind? I would say no, but they communicate telepathically. Telepathic communication is far cry different than reading your mind. I mean, they can't read your. They have a good guess of what you can do. They do, but they can't read your mind. And they can read how you think and think back toward them, as in a conversation. And they know how to manipulate your emotions through chemical reactions and getting you excited about certain things more than you do. But they can't divine your mind. You have a will to resist. You have through the name of Jesus Christ, and you don't have to buy this stuff. And so you just need to understand that. Okay, let me go up here and bring this so I can read it a little bit better. The establishment of the old empire, whose headquarters were located near one of the tail stars of the Big Dipper. I'm not going to get into all that. The old Empire invasion force conquered the area with nuclear weapons sometime earlier, after the radioactivity subsided and the cleanup and restoration were completed, and received the immigration of beings from another galaxy to this galaxy. Those beings set up a society and kept going on until about 10,000 years ago, when it was superseded by the domain. So 10,000 years ago, this old empire was destroyed. I go to Star Wars and all that thing. The old empire is their empire. It's just two faces of the same coin. It is the yin, it is the yang. It's two sides playing against each other to create chaos, to destroy all matter and reshape it into this new image where the devil creates his own universe, extends his throne above God to the furthest sides of the north. He exchanges everything and changes everything in the worship of him as the creator. So he has minions play both sides. This is brought out in Alice Bailey's works, Theosophical works, how these play two sides. Too much for me to go into now. Very recently, Earth civilization has come to resemble aspects of that civilization now that it has fallen out of its immediate control, because they defeated it. But they have these machines called brainwash machines, or force centers, that keep ISBs trapped on Earth. They can't escape because they view this as a planet, a prison planet, where in the galaxy, everybody tosses their criminals to Earth. Actually, that actually matches Revelation chapter 12, when the Lord cast the devil down and his minions to the earth. It's quite probable that the total amount of angels will be 1/3. Not all of them have fallen yet either. So I actually kind of see the logic of that. Was that Michael Heiser or Tom Horn? They probably both talked about that. Maybe Carl Gallups. My mind escapes me sometimes. I start talking and my mind goes, or like Ricochet Rabbit sometimes. But anyway, in particular, the appearance and technology of transportation, such as planes, trains, ships, fire engines, automobiles, as well as what you consider to be modern futuristic architecture, which emanates the design of buildings in the major cities of the old empire. So everything that's constructed, planes and stuff, are just memories of the old empire. So they want, according to what Jason Mathias in his book that's coming out, when he finishes it, come out, is saying that we create these things for them to fly in. If you follow me, the other time they were their creation ideology fits the Sumerian 7-stage of evolutionary development of human beings, and they describe how it took 6 tries and they finally reached perfection on the 7th. And it's describing actually the creation of the Nephilim, and they kept the ones that were failures alive, and they threw the ones that couldn't survive without water, because they lost so much water poured out of their body. They threw them in the oceans, and they let them take care of canals and rivers and streams and stuff. And it could be the same entities that the Soviet divers did in 1980 came across when they dived down into Lake Baikal. They might have confronted some of those. Could explain why we're seeing these ships enter into the ocean too. So these beings are on different segments of the earth, and there are 7 different types. Plus, there are other types, according to the Book of Jasher, that sounds like they're mixed with animals as well, which describes some of the creatures you would see in the pit. In particular, the appearance of technology, I just said that, okay? It's all the old empire, bad, material world, Marx. We were all born collectivists. We were all one in one mind and heart. And we were we were created to be labor workers. Labor workers. You're created to be a labor worker who works for free because you have a collective spirit, and you work for the good of the community. You don't get paid. You just naturally like to pick onions, put them in a bag them up, and sell them, or just give them away, and somebody just automatically drive by and pick it up without any organization, because everybody loves each other. Everybody's in the theosophic mood of love is love, and everything's groovy, and they're smoking some crazy stuff, and they're just gelling out there, looking at the sky and looking at the trails and all this other stuff. And wow, yeah, groovy, man. So that's the world of Karl Marx. I'm just kind of being a little facetious, a little cynical and playful with you, but the idea is the same. That's your idea. At least you'll remember it. All this stuff connects. The apple don't fall far from the tree. I never thought I'd ever say that all this stuff connects to alien stuff, but it does. Even the occult world does. So does leftist ideologies, social democrat, socialism, all forms of totalitarianism, all forms of Marxism, and communism, different variations of it, and as well as fascism. All of it are tied and goes right back to this. It justifies the mass murder of citizenry as the greatest common good, because they come back, reincarnate back, and say, thank you, I am now a free spirit. Okay. Although this seems okay, therefore it is possible that their destruction. Okay, the domain knows that the long-standing edict of the old empire prohibits unauthorized colonization of planets. Okay, so they defeated the old empire, and how could the empire reinforce this? Well, they have a nice plan. They have these machines out there that prevent it and enforce this. So if they can find the machines, they can break through from the atmosphere and escape further into the galaxy on this liberation quest to further free other Isbys, according to what I read here. Okay. Therefore, it is possible that their destruction was caused by police or military forces who pursued the colonists as criminals and destroyed them. Although this seems a likely supposition, no conclusive evidence exists that explains the complete destruction and disappearance of two entire electronic civilizations. I thought this thing was so arrogant and knew all about everything. And it says now it doesn't know. Do you see the inconsistencies of a groomer? Do you see the lie? Do you see the doublespeak? To come across as all confident, then they have all this stuff in there that makes you say, oh, like that old, what was it, 1980 song or whatever, things that make you go, So a lot of times I think in terms of songs and music. I guess that's my problem, but I just do. I play guitar. I write songs. In fact, I wrote a song today, some lyrics down, and got a rhythm and thing picked out for it. I got to develop it, but songs and lyrics come to me, so I can't help it. Okay, let me get back. Another possibility is that the massive submarine volcanic eruption in the region of Lake Toba in Sumatra and Krakatau in Java caused the destruction of Lemur. The floodwaters caused by the eruption overwhelmed the land masses, including the highest mountains. Survivors of the destruction of the civilization of the Lemurians are the earliest ancestor of the Chinese, Australia, and the Oceanaries to the north, were both centers of Lemurian civilizations and are the source of Oriental races. Both civilizations possess electronics, flight, and similar technology as space opera cultures. In other words, their religions are based on space opera, soap opera. Okay, Okay, well, I'm going to go to explain this. Well, they did not possess electronics in the ancient days, no matter how they tried to convince you. Maybe before the flood, possibly, but not after. Okay. Google AI mentions this, and I quote: Helene Petrova Blavatsky, Theosophical Cosmology, particularly in The Secret Doctrine, 1888. It's a long doc. I don't know how many volumes is it, and it is a mishmash of a schizophrenic thinking and salad thinking I've ever saw. The Lemurians refer to the lunar Pitris, lunar ancestors, or the lunar chain of beings. They are considered the progenitors of physical humanity on Earth. Why do I bring this up? Because Ariel in chapter 10 mentions the same thing. Why is it connected to Theosophy? If you don't know anything about Theosophy, if these aliens spoke crap like this, so how many people are going to believe this stuff? Well, we know that Christianity is wrong. This explains I got reason and purpose, and I'm self-expanding, and my mind's expanding, and they give this crazy tobacco to me, and I can take it and go, wow, look at the trails, and I got this mark there on my skin. I can buy, sell, or eat. I'm just chilling out in my prison city. I mean my prison city, my prison planet, in my prison city. And so in my prison domain, and I can't leave. So yeah, let me be happy. So let me, so I'm going to go on here, continue there. They claim to be the progenitors of humanity. The lunar priestess, this is quoting H.P. Blavatsky, are celestial beings who gave their chahayas, shadows or astral bodies, their spirit bodies, to act as models for the development of physical humanity. Chapter 10 mentions that some Isbi sacrificed themselves to become these chayas, or these shadows, and put human agents inside of doll suits, like Ariel was wearing, to interact with the physical world. Number 2, the previous this is not in, this is my notes, okay? These are my notes. I'm just in blue. Okay. Previous evolutionary cycle. They belong to the lunar chain of globes that existed before the current Earth chain. This is exactly what this alien is describing here, before the Earth chain was formed. As the lunar chain died, its life elements and energy were transferred from the Earth chain. Number 3, creators of the physical form. While other beings, solar priestess, provided the spark of mind, again, language from the Kabbalah, or the Hermetic spark, or the monad, the energy, the magnificent, unthinking, uncaring, totally neutral energy source that forgot after it created what to do with itself. So it's just sitting there waiting to be put back together with all the sparks of humanity, spark of the divine within. If we all come together, we actually become the divine feminine of the Holy Spirit. We become the Holy Spirit. So then the Moad can get his brains back and make a perfect new world. Of course, after the end of the 7th root race, in reality, that's you're going to be swimming laps in the lake of fire, but they tell you a different story. So you buy it. Okay, let's continue. The creators of physical form, while other beings, solar priestess, provided spark of the mind, the lunar priestess are responsible for developing the physical form, the coats of skin of the first root races on Earth, which matches the Sumerian creation myth of mankind, which are Nephilim, actually, and how they experiment and got a human being. The astral nature. Initially, humanity formed by the lunar priestess was highly earthreal, gigantic, and the Earth there in those days were Gibberim, gigantic and sexless, before gradually condensing into physical, sexual beings over millions of years. Okay. This is the root race theory. This is what it is. And this is mirrored in this entity's language, as you will see. Next thing is connection to the moon. The moon is described by Blavatsky not as a daughter of the Earth, but as its mother. Remember, this alien called Mother, Source, Creator, which puts her, in my personal opinion and my research, she's under a core, particular divine feminine corps commander. She's in that rank of order in one of the brigades, which is in a division. She belongs to a company and a squad in that military formation. That's Earl. So, his mother, having transferred its life forces to Earth in a series of evolutionary rounds. Root races have 7 evolutionary rounds. This is mocks the Bible. Every 7 years, just every 49th year, you go into a jubilee by the 50th year. This is totally mocking that. So they have 7 root race ages for spiritual evolutionary development, or the development of humanity, how they evolved through this experimentation process. And then during each segment, each one of them, there are 7 distinct segments. So each 7th root race consists of 49 developmental stages of evolutionary development. All right, I got it right. Helen Blavatsky uses the human root race ideology in development. They are 1. They talk about the Polarians, sun, mindless beings floating around basically in the monad, and they need to be set free and liberated, because that's where you exist. And so then the evil demiurge God came up and just destroyed. That's the old empire, they say. It's actually them. And they threw these things on Earth, and the Hyborians came up, which is under Jupiter. I call these commanders the sun deity, Jupiter. Lumerians are Venus. They were androgynous beings, and that is when the demiurge supposedly split humanity into male and female. Now they want to, by the 6th root race, beginning of the 6th root race age, and just prior to it, they want to development to accept androgyny and put male and female back together, and you cannot say anything against it. You'll be labeled names and lose everything in the process by speaking the truth. And if it's true what Ellen Dillow and others talked about, these people were trying to warn us that there was an elite cadre of dark, deep occultists behind all this. They're involved in sex trafficking and all kinds of nasty things. And so what we see here is what is actually going on. They want the 6th root race. They want androgyny, because to be androgynous is to become a god. So the 7th root race age, you have to destroy everything, start all over again to bring all into a state of oneness. 7 becomes the 1, or a new jubilee for the devil. Okay. The Atlantean age, it's under the operation of Moon and Saturn. Those are the divine feminine, and Saturn, aka Enlil, the Atlantean age, which is supposed to be educated and all this stuff, and then they got kind of proudful and fell away. Okay. Then came the Aryans, not the Aryans of Nazism, but these were actually Oriental over in Nepal and stuff. They were looking over there. It considers all modern humanity under the Aryan age. We're all under that frame. And it ended beginning 1998 to 2015, and there'll be a long preparatory stage between each in the first round of the 6th root race stage, and the end of the other will kind of merge together. So that's what they're planning for, because it's the new ideology in the 6th root race. So the 5th root race is all about science and knowledge and technology, forming of seed groups, getting the dominionist thought into politics to bring everybody under one roof, one mindset, take over the education system, so forth, etc. We're seeing that. So in this transition period, the 6th root race, H.P. Blavatsky in her book Secret Doctrine states that, and I quote, "There will be no more Americans when the 6th root race commences, no more in fact than Europeans, for they will all have now become a new race and many new nations." In other words, they want the destruction of your national heritage, who you are as a people, so you are now a conglomeration of collectivists in a new nations, a new race of being. You have been acclimatized, that you wake up and I was made a communist, but through a form of evil materialism, I got greedy. So now I have to sell everything and give all to the government to redistribute. I own nothing, and I'm supposed to be happy because if I disagree that I'm not happy, they'll zap me. A perfect world. Because the party's never wrong, and the party is the people is the party, because the party is the people, and the people is the party. And so you don't really need the people because the party is the people. So the people can't have no say in the party because they're not the people, because the people are not important to the party because the party is the people. So whatever the party says is right, and the people cannot say anything about it because the party is the people and the people is the party. Now, did I get that right? I think I got that right. The seventh root race age is a new divine kind of mankind arises. The monad, or that divine blob of electricity of Hermetic thought and Gnostic thought. There's something that existed before the pleroma, and I forgot what it is. It says a bag of electricity or something. And so the monad reigns, it's God sparks, and they since it sparks into all creation, every rock and everything, and every tree, every living organism has a spark of the divine, and humanity has a bigger spark. And they need to wake up and realize that they are the female version of the Holy Spirit. They need to gel as one in some sex right stuff so they can ascend higher. Things that make you go, okay. The primordial through vibration and resonance and sound. I'm not going to go there. So the seventh root race is all about making a new mankind. When the monad regains, and when humanity wakes up, and I'm a collectivist. We are all here. I'm an Isby. I'm an eternal being. I am divine. The Theosophy teaches that you are little divine sparks. You are God. You need to come into your godhood. You're a little God in God class. You're one with all these astral projection type of beings. People astral project to and guide you like Earl. And so you want to make a new age that's liberated humanity. So the monad, or whatever this thing is, Lucifer, can put back his mind together and make a new type of material and a new universe. It's exactly what this thing is teaching here. H.P. Blavatsky, Secret Doctrine, Volume 2, page 446. Thus, it is the mankind of the new world, one by far the senior of our old one. In fact, man had also forgotten, whose mission and karma it is to sow seeds of the forthcoming, grander, far more glorious race than any of those we now know at present. The cycles of matter will be succeeded by the cycles of spirituality and a fully developed mind. So you have to develop your mind and attune to it, realize you're a God class, and then at the end of the seventh root race age, according to Blavatsky, utter total destruction of the material world, so the monad reshapes it into this new paradise. Okay. You need to know that as we read this. And I'm not going to read all this stuff about the volcanoes, and we're going to get down to the meat. Due to the myriad of types of natural occurring global cataclysmic events, which are indigenous to Earth, it is not suitable planet for any habitation by Isbis. Okay, again, another contradiction. Isbis are not affected by climate, temperature, and all that stuff. They can live anywhere they want. If they want to live in a desolate place like Venus, they could. If they want to live in the sun, they could. If they want to live on a far-off planet, they could, because they don't need any oxygen. They don't need to eat and all that stuff. So you see another contradiction here. In addition, there have been occasional global cataclysms caused by Isbis, such as the one that destroyed the dinosaurs more than 70 million years ago. That destruction was caused by intergalactic warfare, during which time Earth and many other neighboring moons and planets were bombarded by atomic weapons. Atomic explosion caused atmospheric fallout, much like the volcanic eruptions. Most of the planets in this sector of the galaxy have been uninhabitable deserts since then. This is very popular in ancient alien stuff, and they'll come up with these new cities and stuff that they find, and they say, oh, this was all caused by a radioactive explosion. And this is why Ariel was sent on a scientific mission to monitor the radiation of the clouds, because the planet, this uninhabitable, miserable planet, belongs to them, and they want it so bad. And yet they talk such contradictory nonsense. It goes on, Earth is undesirable for many other reasons. Heavy gravity, dense atmosphere, floods, earthquakes, volcanoes, polar shifts, continental drift, meteor impacts, atmospheric and climate changes, to name a few. What kind of lasting civilization could any sophisticated culture propose to develop in such an environment? Well, if you're a spiritual entity and you can live on an asteroid belt, I'm sure you can live in a desolate place too. You don't even need air to breathe. Give me a break. Slap that alien upside the head. Knock some sense into it. You liar. Hope you can see it. But anyway, I wasn't doing the interrogation. Anyway, in addition, Earth is a small planet of a rim star galaxy that makes this Earth very isolated geographically, far from the more concentrated planetary civilizations which exist toward the center of the galaxy. Through our telescopes and stuff that we see right now, it's far, we can see pretty far. We see clusters everywhere around us. There's no one specific area. But there is one particular area that's brighter than the others, but is that the center of the galaxy? You got to think outside the box. You got to really think sometimes. Is that really the center or something? I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not an expert. I just know I studied a lot. There's some particular place with a lot of light on it, and he's probably referring to that. But is that the center of the universe? There could be more centers so far away we can't see. So 500 million years in the future, and in space travel, light years away, you might see more galaxies and lights in different locations. Okay. Earth started being a dumping ground and prison for the Isbies, who were judged untouchable, meaning they were criminal and nonconformist. Isbies were captured, encapsulated in electronic traps, and transported to Earth from various parts of the old empire. Underground amnesia stations were set up on Mars and on Earth, and in the Resent Mountains in Africa, and the Pyrenees Mountains, Portugal, and the steppes of Mongolia. Evidently, they don't know where these machines are, yet they just described some locations, and they're still there, supposedly. There's too many contradictions. This thing must have been in a spacesuit too long, smelling itself. I don't know. These electronic monitoring points create force screens designed to detect and capture Isbies when the Isbie departs the body at death. The Isbies are brainwashed using extreme electronic force in order to maintain Earth's population in a state of perpetual amnesia. Further, the population controls are installed through the use of long-range electronic thought control mechanisms. Whoa, man! That sounds groovy, man. And when we die, that's so unfair. We can't get. We were all little gods, and that evil empire that no longer exists is enslaving us. We need liberation, so I can be free. I guess you guys been smoking from the same hookah or something with these aliens. Smoking that space dust, I guess. Maybe a little too much micro dosing going on here. Why do you think they use in pagan religions? They use hallucinogens to contact spirit guides and gods and angelic beings. These stations are still in operation. They are extremely difficult to attack or destroy, even for the domain, which will not maintain a significant military force in this area until a later date. Duh. Okay. The pyramid civilizations were intentionally created as part of the Isbie prison system on Earth. The pyramid is alleged to be a symbol for wisdom. However, the wisdom of the old empire on the planet Earth is intended to operate as part of an elaborate amnesia trap consisting of mass, meaning, and mystery. Consisting of mass, meaning, and mystery. These are opposite to the qualities of an immortal spiritual being which have no mass or meaning, and is solely because it thinks that it is. I think, therefore I am. I heard that before from a philosopher. I can't remember his name. Therefore I think and I forget. Haven't you? So brings up the subject here, great philosophical thought that professors in the university can haggle over for the next 1,000 years. What I am, I exist because I am. I exist. What I think is, because I'm an is-be solely because I thinks it is. I thinks I be one. And yet, your memory lapses and you forget sometimes. Maybe you're forgetting something here. What do I know? Okay, the mass represents the physical universe, including objects such as stars, planets, liquids, gases, energy particles, and teacups. I don't know what that means. The pyramids were very solid objects, so forth, etc., by the old empire. And dead bodies wrapped in linen, soaked in resin, placed inside in large golden coffins, and entombed with earthly possessions amid cryptic symbols, create an illusion of eternal life. Yawn. Okay. Mass represents the physical universe, including the objects such as stars, gases, these planets, okay? And the tombs and mass as the rocks, the pyramids. However, dense, heavy physical universe symbols are the exact opposite of an is-be. An is-be has no mass or time. I think it's telling the truth there. Objects do not endure forever. But earlier, Ariel said that mass is the only thing that is eternal. But who put the mass there? Oh, I forgot they did. Where do they come from? They never say. I guess I got too close to the brain zapper. And they're the ones with amnesia. Maybe God threw them to earth for a reason. Or wherever the surrounding third heaven, how far that goes, I do not know. Objects do not endure forever, and is-be is forever. False meanings prevent knowledge of the truth. This sounds so philosophical. The pyramid cultures of Earth are fabricated illusions. They are nothing more than false civilizations contrived by the old empire mystery cult called the Brothers of the Serpent. Get the tinfoil hats on, folks. My note, this matches and follows Marx Engels. Naturally, all are communists. They somehow forgotten, and through the communism and erasing of culture, they can get their memory back that they were collectivists. They were a labor worker for free labor. If you wanted to be a brain surgeon, just go there, be a brain surgeon. Go be a dock worker the next day, then goof off for a couple 100 years, then come back and be no training, an airline pilot. Yeah, like Marx taught. I get it, man. I get it. It's the same as by an enslaving form of materialism. The New Age Gnostic ideas all is an illusion, and humanity needs liberation from the illusion. The same ideas, same template, same thought. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. My point. And what happens if the aliens come back and this is released, or they use this to destroy Christianity, and so they'll flip you into this new mod of thinking, and maybe the Antichrist is one of these Nephilim beings that come back or something. Who knows? False meanings were invented to create the illusion of a false society to further reinforce the amnesia mechanism among the inmates in the Earth prison system. It must be the Mandela effect, I guess, or some type of form of the Mandela effect. Why do they say that? Man, everybody remembers that Mandela was in a prison, but suddenly he was released. We reported to it. He died in a prison, but all of a sudden he's released. So I can't explain that. I don't even remember. I always remember that he was in a prison and he was released and he never died, but that's my memory. Maybe I got too close to the bug zapper here in Colorado, and that's a wrong thought. You're thinking the wrong way. We can't have you thinking for yourself. No, 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 no. You got to think like an Isby. You're a divine being. Zzz. So you get zapped, okay? Lovely world, lovely paradise they have for us. Mystery is built of lies and half-truths, which is actually a true statement. Lies cause persistence because they alter facts which are comprised of exact dates, places, and events. When truth is known, a lie no longer persists. If the exact truth is revealed, it is no longer a mystery. So here they go. They said that Ariel earlier, I think first or second part, stated that basically all truth is all truth. There is no universal truth. And here is a contradiction again. Basically, their truth is superior to all other truths. Everything is an illusion. Everything is a lie. You're getting right into all the depths of occultism and other stuff out there. While the pyramid civilizations of Earth are carefully contrived of layer upon layer of lies, skillfully combined with a few truths, the priest cult of the old empire combined sophisticated mathematics and space opera technology with theatrical metaphors and symbolism. All these are a complete fabrication of truth, baited with the allure of aesthetics and mystery. Let me read it another way. If the exact truth is revealed, it is no longer a annute glamour, mystery. So the word here talking about mystery is annute glamour in the Theosophical world. You put lipsticks on the pig and makeup and look like it's the most beautiful gal you ever did see, so you want to wallow in the mire with it. And that's what this is basically saying. I don't know if you can see that. So you want to, you got to know the truth. There's no way you can know the truth in that you're just being gaslit here, you know. So that's what it's saying. The intricate rituals, astronomical alignments, secret rites, massive monuments, marvelous architecture, artistically rendered hieroglyphs, and man-animal gods were designed to create an unsolvable mystery, a mystery of glamour and suspense that you know, it's just this world is an illusion. And what was the old Joe Walsh saying? I'm living a life of illusion. I used to have that album before I sold it or burned it, one of the two. Living a life of illusion. It's like the TV technician that came over to my house, not the TV technician, but the guy who put the high-speed internet. He started talking about, do you know that this world is an illusion? No, I just want to pay my bill and I got things to do, buddy. Thanks for doing it. You did a great job. He did a fantastic job. No complaints. Do your job and leave your new age stuff at the door. Okay. So this lines up with why Marx's ideology, totalitarian ideology, especially Maoism and the fascist Maos of whatever the other one, the guy that followed Mao, whatever his name was, I can't remember it, Deng Xiaoping or something, blended fascism with it so it wouldn't totally collapse. And so, yeah. So you have this glamour in there to make something. So basically it's just utter destruction. You want to bring about destruction through lies, through glamour, by making it look beautiful. So the intricate rituals, astronomical alignment, secret rites, all this stuff is a phony. It says down here, the truth is that every single ISB on Earth came to Earth from some other planetary system. Not one person on Earth is a native inhabitant. Human beings did not evolve on Earth. In the past, Egyptian society is run by the prison administrators or priests who in turn manipulated Pharaoh, controlled the treasury, and kept the inmate population enslaved physically and spiritually. Well, you have the perfect Soviet man, you have the perfect laborer that Marxism wants. Workers' paradise. I guess it's all a matter of perspective. Two sides, two of the same goal, playing each other to create chaos in order to bring everybody to the white throne judgment. In modern times, the priests have changed, but the function is the same. However, now the priests are prisoners too. The mystery, or the annual glamour of how beautiful all this sounds, reinforces the walls of the prison. The old empire feared that the ISBs on Earth might regain their memory. Therefore, one of the primary functions of the old empire priesthood is to prevent ISBs on Earth from remembering who they really are, how they came to Earth, and where they came from. The old empire operators of the prison system with their superiors do not want ISBs to remember who murdered them, captured them, and stole all their possessions, and sent them to Earth, and gave them amnesia and condemned them to eternal imprisonment. Ugh. I can read a book of Gnosticism and find the same garbage. I can go through the deepest, darkest wells of the Kabbalah and see the same garbage. Give me a break. Well, this just proves the aliens were here before anybody else because the Bible came later. And according to these aliens who were here before us, they know better that's created myth too. But we know the truth, and the truth has set us free. And we're Isbis, we're little gods, and we don't have to work anymore. But we are wage labor. No, we're not slave laborers for wages. We're just laborers working for free. I give up. Imagine I highlighted this. Imagine what might happen if all the inmates of the prison suddenly remember that they have the right to be free. Here you got the occult world with the TV commercials. Be free, break through the wall. The perfume commercials are prime areas. This glorious, voluptuous, buxom type of doll, whatever comes out, and this is the glamour. This is the way all women are to look. And you'll turn heads. Lightning bolts will come out of Zeus's sky and zap you, and you'll be the queen of heaven. All that stuff. You need to break down the barriers, destroy the system, destroy the norms, tear down society, burn it to the ground, and build it back better. So if everybody remember where they have the right to be free. So George Orwell got it right in 1984. They will call freedom slavery and slavery freedom. And this is exactly what Annute Glamour does. This is exactly describing these mysteries of this thing as well. They are afraid to reveal anything that looks like the civilization of the inmates' home planets, a body, a piece of clothing, a symbol, a spaceship, an advanced electronics device, or any other remnant of the civilization from a home planet could remind a being and rekindle its memory. If that was that easy, then okay, so this is what I don't understand. These things can traverse, come down here, but they're not trapped, but they can't go any further. And then they're supposed to liberate humanity. Sorry, my poor pea brain, you can't comprehend this, but I see you're pulling the wool over a lot of people's eyes. And sophisticated technologies of entrapment and enslavement, which were developed over millions of years in the old empire, have been applied to the ISBs on Earth with the intention to create false facade for the prison. These facades are still on Earth in totality, all at once. Every piece is a fully integrated part of the prison system. So the purpose of the Dark Lodge or the Black Lodge, the controlled opposition, is to get human beings into the divine mind, to gel. And so you have two forces in constant conflict in order to create a gray mass blob and return to your pure spirit state. Basically what it's saying that. So what you're seeing here in that thing is this world is a facade. This tube of chapstick, that I'm putting on my lips, it's just an illusion. It doesn't really exist at all. Well, if I eat poisoned food, get food poisoning, I'm really not sick. I have to deny reality, okay? But what do I know? Maybe Joe Walsh was right, whatever his name was. Yeah, Joe Walsh. We live in a world of illusion. This includes a religion of mumbo-jumbo doublespeak. Here we go. With critical thinking, they're going to make everything negative about humanity as possible to throw a smoke screen over it so you can't see the intent where they're taking you. Reminds me one of my favorite Twilight Zones episodes. Something about with I can't remember the guy who played Jaws. I can't remember his name, but he was an alien and was called To Serve Man. And everybody thought the aliens were going in it. And then this guy gets on the spaceship. This other guy tried to warn him before he goes and tell him To Serve Man is a cookbook. This guy gets on there, and this guy is feeling him and seeing he's getting more fat on him. He's getting to fatten him up. Too late for him. So it includes a mumbo-jumbo doublespeak. Every pyramid civilization uses this as a part of control mechanisms to keep the population enslaved by force, by fear, and by ignorance. That's the devil's operation. Slavery is freedom, and freedom is slavery. The indecipherable muddle of irrelevant information, geometric designs, mathematical calculation, astronomical alignments are part of a false spirituality based on solid objects rather than immortal spirits in order to confuse and disorient the SBs on the earth. When the body of a person died, they were buried in their earthly possessions. They were buried with their earthly possessions, including their former body wrapped in linen, to sustain their soul or K after death. And as Isby does not have a soul, and Isby is a soul. A logical contradiction. I thought you just is. Man, it just is, man. Man, it just is. I'm down here in the hood, man. I tell you, man, it's just how the hood is, man. It just is. Give me a 5, man. It just is. Okay. And Isby does not have a soul. Motown will go bankrupt, okay? Nisby does not have a soul, and Nisby is a soul. I guess Motown's back. I don't know. I know a logical contradiction when I see one. Two statements, contradictory statements, can't be true. I, as a college graduate, got me an education. So anyway, on the home planet Isby, their material possessions are not lost, stolen, or forgotten when the being died or left the body. An Isby could retain and claim the possessions. However, if the Isby has amnesia, they will not remember that they had any possessions. So governments, insurance companies, bankers, family members, and other vultures can pick their possessions clean without fear of retribution from the deceased. Oh boy. Oh, that evil empire. We got to find those amnesia machines. I want to know how much wealth of my ancestors got me, man. I was a billionaire, but don't know it yet. Hallelujah. I'm a quadrillionaire. I'm 500 billion years old. I got my memory back. You owe me, sucker. Well, what it is B is what it is. But it can't be an is or a B, okay? You got to have humor, folks. On the home planet Isby, their material possessions were not lost, stolen, or forgotten. I mean, I give up. The only reason for these false meanings is to instill the idea that an Isby is not a spirit, but a physical object. This is a lie. It is a trap for the Isby. My Bible tells me that we are a spirit. We are created. Our spirit lives forever. Our spirit and soul is part of our spirit man. It lives forever. The Bible teaches that God put eternity in our hearts. It teaches that whatever God does forever. There's a lot of scriptures that talk about that who we are. And I can't help it if certain segments of the ancient world crept into the Catholic Church, teaching that nobody their souls are not immortal or their spirits are not immortal, crept in. But the Bible is contrary to that. So what can I say? Countless people have spent endless hours attempting to solve this jigsaw puzzle of Egypt, another old empire civilization. They are puzzles made of pieces that do not fit. The question states its answer. What is the mystery of Egypt? What is the glamour of Egypt and other pyramid cultures? It's a mystery. So I'm not going to go through here and read all this. I'll be here forever. Okay? It talks about the verdict hymns are a set of religious hymns. I'm not going to read this either, but they were passed down to generation, and I'll just read it. The Veda or Vedic hymns are a set of religious hymns that were introduced into societies of earth. They came forward in spoken tradition, memorized from generation to generation. The hymn to the dawn child includes an idea called the cycle of the physical universe, the creation, growth, conservation, decay, and death and destruction of energy and matter in space. Okay? Again, preparing people and grooming people for the ideology of the seventh root race age. It's okay to destroy everything so we all become one back into the divine mind, okay? Which will fix everything and have a new matter that never ceases, okay? These cycles produce time. The same set of hymns describes the theory of evolution. So it goes on and on. 8050 BCE, the destruction of the old empire, home planet government in this galaxy. This was the end of the old empire as a political entity in the galaxy. However, the vast size of the old empire will take many thousands of years for the dominion to conquer completely. Yet it was thoroughly defeated already. Another contradiction. The itinerary of the political, economic, and cultural systems of the old empire will remain in place for some time to come. However, remnants of the old Empire space fleet in the solar system of Earth was finally destroyed in 1230 AD. Conveniently, right around the time when the Kabbalah was formed. How convenient. How convenient. Apple don't fall far from the tree, right around that time. In addition to operatives of the old empire who run the Earth prison operation, there are other beings from the old empire who came to Earth. Since Earth was no longer under the control of the old empire. After their defeat by the Dominion forces, there was no police force to control the military renegades or space pirates, miners and merchants and entrepreneurs who came to Earth to exploit the resources of the planet for personal gain and many other nefarious reasons. So if this galactic domain is so perfect and so pure as driven snow, boy, it sounds just like what we're going through on Earth. Why would I want to have these people control me? I don't know. Here we get to derogatory about the Bible and stuff. For example, the history of the earth according to the Jewish peoples describes the Nephilim, chapter 6 of the book of Genesis, and describes the origin of the Nephilim. The Nephilim began to multiply in the face of the land. They saw the sons and daughters of men. They took wives for themselves. Nephilim were on earth in those days and afterwards. I'm just reading this fast. The ancient Jewish people who wrote the history book called the Old Testament were slaves, herders, and gatherers, and any modern technology, even a simple flashlight, would seem astounding and miraculous to them. So there's a bunch of superstitious boobs. You don't need to believe the Bible. That's what they're saying. When this stuff gets out, this will be, oh my God, I don't have that Christianity stuff. We need to, hey, we don't have to abide by this. We're space brothers with another mother. The mother, the creator, the source. Oh yeah, we're all from the same mother. Okay, we're all space brothers and sisters. Groovy man, groovy. Peace out. Farm out, man. Farm out. Okay. Smoke them if you got them. Okay. Let's go on. They attributed any unexplainable phenomena or technology to the working of a god. Unfortunately, this behavior is universal amongst all ISBs who have been given amnesia, who cannot remember their own experiences, training, technology, and personality or identity. I'm an ISB. I'm the god. I created it myself. Because I is and I be. I be an ISB. You're an ISB, I'm an ISB. Well, I'll play ISBs. Okay. They set up small colonies on their own Earth beyond the reach of the police and tax authorities. Coincidentally, one of the most serious crimes Nisby could commit in the old empire was to violate income tax regulations. Okay. Oh, wow. You cannot escape death and taxes no matter how hard you try. Income taxes were used as slavery mechanism as a punishment in the old empire. The slightest error in tax report made by ISB untouchable, followed by imprisonment on Earth. I give up. Then you're released out of prison. Okay, I give up. I mean, sometimes you just wonder. I'm not going to read all that junk. I want to get down to the good stuff. 6,248 BCE, the beginning of active warfare between Dominion Space Command and the surviving remnants of the old Empire space fleet in the solar system that lasted 7,500 years. Began when the installation was established on the Himalaya Mountains by a battalion of 3,000 officers and crew members of the Dominion Expeditionary Force. Installation was not a fortifial as the domain was not aware that the old empire maintained Earth as a prison planet. Then you guys ain't very smart, especially when you're at war with them. I think you would have known that. Any military-minded person would be tracking your enemies. Okay, especially with the advanced technology they claim to have. Okay. The domain installation was attacked and destroyed by space forces from the old empire. Could you imagine people who don't know anything and they're going to believe stuff like this coming from the mouth of somebody saying they're a Nordic? Come to Earth in peace, brother, and safety, sister. Peace and safety system, brothers and sisters. Hallelujah. We're the Space Brothers. ISBs of the Domain Battalion were captured, taken to Mars, given amnesia, and sent back to Earth to inhabit biological bodies. They are still on Earth. The investigation into the disappearance of domain forces in the solar system led to the discovery of old empire bases on Mars and elsewhere. The Dominion took over the planet Venus as a defensive position against the space forces of the old empire. The Dominion Expeditionary Force also monitors life forms on Venus, which is very dense, hot, and heavy atmospheric with sulfuric acid clouds. There are a few life forms on Earth that can endure the atmospheric environment like Venus. This was known by this realm of science back in the day, too. Many old sci-fi movies verify this about Venus. Hot, thick atmosphere and stuff. The domain also established secret installations or space stations in the Earth solar system. The solar system has a planet that broken up, the asteroid, blah, blah, blah. Okay. They said that the asteroid belt is a jumping off spot where they can use it to gain energy, just fling themselves out in space. Okay. 3,400 to 3,100 BCE. The intervention into the affairs of Earth by the old empire operatives or divine gods was disrupted by this time by the domain forces. They were forced to replace themselves with human rulers. Okay. They talk about it being, they made the pharaohs, and the pharaohs were some of these divine beings. Some of them weren't. What's going on? As I mentioned earlier, Earth was under attack between the Dominion and the old empire forces during this period. Of course, this does not make any sense to archaeologists or historians on Earth. There's no evidence for it, okay? Because, I forgot the amnesia machine. Yeah. because the Egyptian period is a space opera period. Since Earth historians have amnesia, they assume that this was the only religion period. No, they don't. They know that there was Mesopotamian Canaanite religion. They know about the people in Russia. They know about stuff happening over in Europe. So, get a spiritual V8. Don't buy the lie. Further, because of the technology and civilizations installed on Earth during this period were prepackaged, they did not evolve on Earth. And as I go in chapter 10, they had these corporations fighting each other for who can control and who could make the different beings on this planet to profit off of them. The Dominion was doing it. Oh, man, I'm telling you. Okay. 2181 BCE to 1500 BCE. Became a Greek god of fertility. This Isbe, also known as Pan, was also a Greek god. Min or Pan. Was it Isbe who somehow managed to escape the old empire amnesia system? Yeah, the goat-headed, half-human, half-goat creature. Yeah, got it. Nephilim. One of the results of the intensifying battle between the Dominion forces and the old empire was that they controlled the divine rulers, was broken up at this time. They finally left Egypt, returned to the heavens, so to speak, in defeat. The human beings took over the ruling role as pharaohs. The first human pharaohs moved the capital city of Egypt to Memphis. The blah, the blah, the blah, the blah. The priest of Anu, recorded in that Anu is a Mesopotamian god, okay, as well, recorded that the Mediterranean area was invaded by Atlantean people about this time. It goes on. It goes right to H.P. Blavatsky's Atlantean garbage. Listen to this. The Domain Expeditionary Force actively waged a war of religious conquest against the Egyptian mystery cult called the Priest of Amun, also known as the Old Empire Brothers of the Serpent. During this time, the Pharaoh Akhenaten abolished the priesthood of Anum and moved the capital of Egypt to Thebes, to a new location. It goes on and on and on. So this goes on talking all this stuff. So it goes on here. It goes, however, the blind Greek poet wrote the stories, the gods, as borrowed and modified from earlier sources of the Vedic hymns, Sumerian texts, Babylonian and Egyptian mythology. His poems, as well as many other myths of the ancient world, are very accurate descriptions of the exploits of the Isbis on Earth, who were able to avoid the old empire amnesia operation and operated without biological bodies. Okay. Talks about Zoroaster and the foundation of the Kabbalah here. Created religious practice in Persia around an Isbi called Ahura Mazda. This was yet another growing number of monotheistic gods put in place by operatives of the domain to displace the panoply of the old empire gods. So you Dominion entities are so nice and kind, you're so good, you have to create a lie. Monotheistic gods. I wonder if you want Lucifer exalted above the stars. Maybe, I don't know. So another contradiction. Prior to this entity disparaged the concepts of a monotheistic God as being part of the old empire prison system. Here it says otherwise. Exactly right. Another contradiction. And I commented this on the other night, on Sunday night, with Jason Mathis about this guy from China writing a book. And that book was given to me in Outward Bound to read when I went a 3-day solo where you get stuck in the middle of nowhere and you have to survive. And what you can eat. I was in a bad area. There was no food there, except there was a trail nearby, and I borrowed and bummed off granola bars from people as they walked by. Uh, and I didn't get much. There weren't that many people passing by. But after being in the woods by yourself for a little while, sleeping under a poncho as your tent, swatting mosquitoes, and sitting around all day, when somebody comes by, you engage in a conversation as long as possible and bum anything you can off them if they had extra food. They usually gave it to you. It was granola bars. Of course, we were allowed to have, if we were to prepare for it, we were allowed to have, if we saved up some of our rations, we didn't have much to eat, but we could, I just had some sunflower seeds. I never ate them. I just compiled them for such an emergency. I'd sit on the rock and eat them. And then people would walk by and I'd try to bum things off of them. And I was trying to think. This is a survival lesson. Okay. Action is caused by the force of nothing. Yeah. Basically, this book tells you that the self, the spirit, creates illusion. So everything's an illusion. This whole book was about illusion. The guy eventually goes back, sits by the river where he started from, and gets this great revelation. Okay. Here's the most awful book I ever read. I had nothing else to read, so I read it. He was trying to convert me, I guess, to be a Buddhist, I guess, but I'm not going to. I was an atheist. Sorry. The atheism blocked that attempt. 593 BCE. The Genesis story written by the Jewish people described angels or the sons of God mating with women on earth who bore them children. These were probably renegades of the old empire. They may also have been space pirates or merchants from the system outside the galaxy who came to steal mineral resources and smuggle drugs. Wow. I give up sometimes. All the stuff that was happening on the planet back then in 1947 is happening today. They smuggled morphine over from Mexico. A lot of people had morphine addictions and laudanum addictions back in the day. The domain has observed that there are many visitors to Earth from the neighboring planets and galaxy, but they rarely stop to live here. Who would want to live here? Look at New York City. Yeah, stay away from that place. They Mandami it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's a space brother. He doesn't. He's one of the illuminated ones. Okay. Okay. I won't read any of this stuff here. It should be noted that much of the Old Testament was written during the captivity of the Jews who were enslaved in Babylon. Which was very heavily controlled by priests of the old empire, and the book introduces a false sense of time and false concept of the origin of creation. So if the Bible is wrong, they attack it. So when this stuff comes out, be prepared for this type of stuff coming out. And people saying, we got you, there's no Bible, we're all space brothers. But you who disagree are not. You got to go. Don't worry, you'll reincarnate back to a higher being, and you'll thank us in the end. I got it, yeah. Serpent is the symbol of the old empire. It appears in the beginning of the creation story, or as the Greeks say, Genesis, and causes the spiritual destruction of the first human beings, who are metaphorically represented by Adam and Eve. The Old Testament, clearly influenced by the old empire forces, gives a detailed description of beings being induced into biological bodies on Earth. Okay. I can't remember if it's Gnosticism. There's a bunch of spiritual entities floating up in the mind of Lucifer, and you already pre-existed, so you just get thrown into this human body, this prison of the body, this prison of the material world. And through religious practices and rituals, you ascend to higher levels of consciousness and realize that you are divine. You look in the mirror and see how beautiful you are. You kiss it longingly and say, I am me, and me is me, and I am is, and I am and is be. I am God. Say it. Your confession 15 times a day. Okay. And about 200 Mary take a hike verses as well. Yes. Uh, so, most importantly, destroys the awareness that humans are immortal spirits and spiritual beings. My note, Ecclesiastes 3, chapter 3, verses 11, 14, and 15, Genesis 2, 7. Contradict that statement. I trust the Bible more than I trust this entity speaking here. It goes on with this great long history lesson. I'm about ready to wrap it up. Okay. I'm going to read the top. The domain search party devised a wide variety of electronic detection devices needed to track the electromagnetic signature or wavelength of each of the missing members of the battalion. So they're looking for it. So it's stating in there they use these pine cone things in these ancient Mesopotamian reliefs. Let me see if I can bring one up here. They don't have the pine cones. I thought I had one with the pine cones. Oh, this one doesn't have the pine cones. No, I don't have it. I don't have it. So sorry. So these pine cones, that's what this thing is talking about. I'm about ready. Almost done, folks. One of these electronic detection devices is referred to as the Tree of Life. This device is literally a tool designed to detect the presence of life, which is an ISB, which was a large this was a large electronic screen generator designed to permeate wide areas. To the ancient humans of Earth, it resembled a sort of tree, since it consists of an interwoven lattice of electronic field generators and receivers. Electronic field detects the presence of an ISB, whether the ISB is occupying a body or if they're outside the body. Huh? A portable version of this was carried by each member of the Dominion search party, which this entity claims was part of the rescue mission. They never found them. Stone carvings in Samaria show winged beings using pine cone shaped instruments to scan bodies of human beings. They are shown carrying power unit for the scanner, which are depicted in stylized baskets and water buckets, and carried by eagle headed wing beings. Go back. There you go. That's what it's talking about. Yeah, purses and stuff. Oh, yeah, one of them does have pine cones. One on the right there. So that's an electronic device. It kind of it's more apropos to DNA, unbinding DNA for creation, if you want to know the truth. So you mix one species with another. There's another thing that matches the Kabbalic tree of life. So in order to ascend out of the material world to become divine, you have to conquer all these levels. Okay. Just like it says here, you can escape this. You'll regain your memory. You'll become liberated. You'll become an ISB. Okay. Well, I wrote down here, the members of the aquatic unit of the domain search party were called Onis by local humans. Stone carvings of the so-called Onis are shown wearing silver diving suits. They lived in the sea and appear to be human, to the human population to be men dressed to look like the fish. Okay, so again, when you go back to the Sumerian creation myth, the first creature that they made to be a human being was somebody who could not hold water, so they placed them in the water. This all fits. Okay. On land, the Dominion Search Party members were referred to as Anunnaki by the Sumerians and Nephilim in the Bible, of course. But you just said the Bible isn't true. Okay, I give up. Of course, their true mission activities were never disclosed but to the Homo sapiens. Okay. Is it any wonder? But now it is. Okay. I'm not going to read anymore because this goes in just all this mumbo jumbo. And I am getting tired. It's 118 pages. Yeah, there it is. 116, 117 pages. Goes in the Night Templar. It goes in this wild-eyed diatribe of all this stuff. I'm not going to be dealing with that right now because I pretty much said everything I'm going to say about this thing anyway on chapter 9 here. So again, there's too many inconsistencies in it. If these beings came back and if this was some type of legit thing, these beings do show up and they spout this stuff, how many people are going to believe it and not check it out or test it? I don't think very many will. So folks, that's it for tonight. 2 hours here. So I'm getting rather tired. And I'm glad people stayed up that late and see this, and hope you enjoy this and watch it later. So anyway, I just want to share that about the Isbies, how these creatures called Ariel are spiritual beings in doll suits, and how they think and how they contradict themselves in their communication, how it lines up with the occult world. And I think you all got it. There's some more chapters in MacElroy's writings here, a few more chapters. Maybe, and those will go by a lot faster if I read them. I'll see if I want to read any more. I'll see. With that, folks, I'll go put my contact information up here, and I'm going to sign off here real quickly. I'll look at the live chat in a minute, but if you'd like to contact me, website, email, PayPal, my book, A Land Unknown, Hell's Dominion, and Heaven Beckons are all right there. If you like this video, please like and subscribe and share. If you'd like to support what I do, my PayPal information is there. Email to contact me. My 2 books, A Land Unknown, Hell's Dominion, and Heaven Beckons. With that, I'll catch you all later. I'll go quickly to the live chat, and I'm probably getting too tired to do anything right now. I did sleep pretty good last night, but for some reason I'm getting tired. Like I said the other night with Jason, I hardly slept at all on Saturday night. And I had very little sleep, maybe 3.5 hours of restless sleep. Well, for reasons I already discussed, I don't want to get into that now. But anyway, I'm just getting a little tired. So anyway, I'm seeing if anybody here. I like what Allie says. It does sort of feel like we're on a prison planet of stupidity sometimes. Oh, we are. Oh, that's a good one. Okay. Okay, we have here Mark here. Listen to UFO Chronicles podcast episode 252 is a paranoid approach bashing the aliens. It is part of the prophecy to use deception to gather people's awareness over time to become at ease. Okay. Okay, folks, I am getting rather tired. I can't believe how tired I'm suddenly getting. I don't know why I'm getting. It's probably because Mother's Day was very emotional for me for some reason, and I'm not going to get into that. But then the sleep I lost, I think it's all catching up to me. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sign out. I can't really answer any questions. I'm too tired. I'm getting tired. So you guys have a great day. I want to sign off here. You guys be blessed, and I will catch you next time. We'll try to wrap this up. Maybe I can do the whole rest of it in just one sitting because the other chapters will be quite easier. These are the main chapters I wanted to look at in here so you can explore it. Other interesting things as further we can go, but I'm going to try not to do anything for a couple of days to rest. So with that, you guys be blessed in Jesus' name, and I'll catch you next time. God bless you all.